Inflation cooled down to its lowest level in nearly 2 years last month. That's according to a new Labor Department report Wednesday. The Consumer Price Index increased at an annual rate of 5% in March. That's down from 6% in February. It also represents the smallest 12-month increase since May of 2021. But core inflation, which excludes volatile food and fuel prices, ticked up 5.6% in March, marking the first acceleration in the yearly number since last September. Some view this number as a better indicator of underlying price pressures. Bharat Ramamurti joins us now. He is currently serving as the Deputy Director of the White House National Economic Council. This was kind of a mixed bag of numbers here, and we just threw a lot of things at the viewers here. But, you know, we've seen inflation slow down after peaking from about 9% last summer. But that's still a painful process for many consumers out there. Help us understand these mixed signals and how the White House is viewing these numbers.
Yeah, overall, this was a very positive report in our view. You saw, as you noted there, declining inflation. Actually, for the 9 months in a row, we've now seen headline inflation decline. And if you look at the big picture over the last 9 months, we've seen job growth go up. We've seen wages go up, and we've seen inflation come down. So overall, a good economic trajectory over the last 9 months. As you noted, there was a slightly higher reading on core inflation. A lot of core inflation is housing. And obviously, that's a major cost that families have to deal with. The good news on that front is that the most recent data that we have suggests that rental costs are actually coming down in most major metro areas. So we should see that number go down a bit in the future because of the contribution of housing in the months to come.
Now, food costs still remain uncomfortably high for many people. Over the past year, overall food prices were up 8.5%. What do you make of that? And when do people start seeing relief at the grocery store?
Well, actually, they saw some relief last month. One of the good elements of that report, as you noted, overall, over the last year, there's been an increase. But in the month of March, grocery prices actually came down, led in part by the decline in egg prices, which was obviously a main source of concern for consumers over the last couple of months. So good news on that front. We hope to see it continue because between groceries, groceries, gas, and housing, those are some of the main costs that families face. On all three of those, our view is that costs are trending in the right direction.
But we're still a ways away from the Federal Reserve's 2% inflation target. That's what was normal before the onset of the pandemic back in 2020. Is 2% still realistic in this post-COVID world? And can we get there quickly without a recession?
Yeah, look, our view is that we are trending in the right direction. The president has been pretty clear starting last year that we weren't going to get there overnight. The goal was to see a decline in inflation over time, while at the same time protecting all of the job gains that we've made over the last 2 years. Remember, when the president came to office, the unemployment rate was well over 6%. Now it's at 3.5%. 12.5 million new jobs created under this president. That's 12.5 million people, 12.5 million families who are now getting a paycheck that weren't before. That's a lot of financial security. Our goal is to make sure that we protect those job gains while inflation comes down steadily. Over the last several months, we've seen exactly that trend. And our hope is that it will continue over the next months as well.
But we've also seen significant layoffs in many sectors, including the tech sector in the economy. How much more pain could Americans see before we hit that 2% mark? You know, the Federal Reserve notes from their meeting indicated some growing concerns about a mild recession before the year is out.
Well, look, I don't want to denigrate the Fed in any way, but I would also say that over the last year or so, there have been a lot of projections about an imminent recession. I remember sitting here a year ago and people were saying a recession is around the corner. And instead, what we saw was a decline in the unemployment rate to the point where we hit a 54-year low just a few months ago. So what we see right now in the data is a very strong job market. We see that consumer spending continues to be very strong. We see significant business investment. In other words, companies are still feeling confident enough about the economy to put their money out there, start new production, new factories in the United States. We've seen a revival of American manufacturing, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs since this president has taken office. All of those bode well for the next months to come. And so we feel like we are well positioned to address any headwinds we may face in the economy, either domestically or internationally.
And real quick before we let you go, is it time for the Fed to pump the brakes on the interest rate hikes?
Well, one thing the president has been very clear about from the beginning of his term is that we don't comment on the Fed, that we believe in Fed independence. He's nominated people to the Fed that he thinks are data-driven, who care a lot about both price pressures and the state of the labor market, and he's going to trust them to make the right decision. What we're doing here at the White House is trying to make the Fed's job as easy as possible, helping them bring down costs. I just want to make one point before we go. One of the things that the president has fought for is a cap on insulin prices. Millions of families are paying hundreds of dollars a month on insulin. Starting this year, there's a cap at $35 a month for those folks on Medicare, and companies have voluntarily capped it for people younger than that as well. So we've seen a huge cost savings for all those families out there who rely on this life-saving drug.
Bharat Ramamurti, thank you very much for your time, sir.